Zeynab Javadli must have thought she was in a fairy tale when she met and got married to Dubai's Sheik Saeed Al Maktoum. But what she had no way of knowing at the time was that this marriage would be a ticking time bomb on her life, waiting to change her life forever. This is the shocking truth of Zeynab Javadli and her disastrous marriage to Sheik Saeed Al Maktoum. Welcome to Crown Tale, and let's unravel this intriguing story. Zeynab Javadli was an A-list gymnast and an accomplished sportswoman with both national and international trophies to her name. She was born in 1991 in Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan, a former Soviet region in the Asian continent. She started her gymnastics career at the age of 9, and she quickly rose through the ranks to become one of the best in her field. The young Zeynab grew up in the sporting arena, putting all her effort into chasing her dreams. It would not be hard to believe she would meet the supposed man of her dreams around the sporting environment. Who would have guessed it would turn out the way it did? Zeynab's life was blossoming. She won the silver medal in the European Championship and a bronze medal at the World Championship held in Japan. Apart from her excellent sporting career, she also had enough time to win the Miss Elegance Beauty contest held in Russia. Her broad eyes and stunning appearance were enough to gain her the attention of many suitors, but the one she eventually fell for would turn out to be one of the worst mistakes of her life. Zeynab's active career in gymnastics ended when in 2012 she sustained an injury that kept her out of the main performances. Undeterred by this, Zeynab took up coaching and even established her very own gymnastics school in her home country of Azerbaijan, in Baku to be precise. She was doing particularly well until, of course, the Sheikh came calling. For those of you who don't know, Sheik Saeed Al Maktoum is the nephew of Dubai's ruler, Sheikh Mohammed Al Maktoum. His father, Sheikh bin Rashid Al Maktoum, ruled Dubai for 16 years, from 1990 to 2006. Raised in such wealth and affluence, Rashid could afford almost anything, and this probably gave rise to the kind of things he did in his marriage, which were both disturbing and sad. Aside from being royalty in the UAE, Sheikh Maktoum is a business mogul, with investments in factories, newspaper companies, steamships, and many more high-grade businesses. He is also an avid sports enthusiast, with an interest in equestrian sports and sports shooting. In fact, he owns the UAE's Al Shabab Football Club and is also the owner of famed racehorses like Lamtara of the Godolphin Stables. His particular interest in sports shooting is quite ironic because despite the fact he has no outstanding skill or performance in the sport, he was chosen as the flag bearer of his team, and it's how he first met Zeynab. They would first meet in 2015 at an international competition for bench shooting held in Gabala, a city in Zeynab's home country of Azerbaijan. This seemed like the perfect background for the start of a beautiful love story. So how then did this become the beginning of a tragic nightmare for Zeynab Javadli instead? After they met in Gabala, the two lovers started a relationship, and a few months later, the Sheikh proposed marriage to her. Although it was quite early in the relationship, Zeynab agreed to his proposal, which would mean that she would become his third wife, because the Sheikh already had 2 other wives. This was not unusual, as both Sheikh Maktoum and Zeynab were practicing Islam, and polygamy is welcomed in the Middle East, where they lived. But despite the fact she was marrying the Sheikh as his third wife, she was criticized by some members of the public, who called her out as a gold digger. She would later come out to speak about it, publicly describing her marriage to Sheikh Maktoum as the work of fate, and having nothing to do with her wanting to marry a billionaire prince from Dubai. The Sheikh's other wives were an Emirati relative of his, as well as a part Belarusian and Azerbaijani woman, who worked as a waitress at a hotel before she became the Sheikh's wife. Each wife lived in a separate luxurious castle, where he would go to meet with them occasionally, having all their amenities provided for them within the palace walks. Being the new wife, Zeynab was showered with love initially and had 3 beautiful daughters for him. But it would soon dawn on her that she knew very little of her loving husband. For a time, it seemed all was well within Zeynab's marriage, as she constantly shared beautiful photos of her happy family on various social media platforms. But out of the blue, she posted a video in 2020 crying and asking for help. Sadly, it would take Zeynab 5 years into her marriage to realize that the Sheikh had a terrible habit of losing interest in his wife a few years into his marriage. He became so dissatisfied with Zeynab that he became extremely distant from her and kept her closed up in his mansion. Her prison-like experience worsened when she delivered her third daughter. He deemed her unable to provide him with a son and kept his distance from her as a result. Zeynab complained about the abuse and lack of attention, and as the quarrels and misunderstanding continued, the two spouses ended up getting divorced. But for Zeynab, it was far from over. After the divorce, she claimed that she had to constantly be on the lookout, as her life was being threatened by people sent by her ex-husband. Their aim was majorly to kidnap her daughters and take her life. Zeynab also revealed that she was living in constant fear and paranoia, and even her parents were being intimidated by the Sheikh's men. It didn't take long before her allowances were cancelled and her finances began to decline drastically. The reports of marital abuse among Arab royalties, especially in wives, is heard frequently, and although Zeynab was divorced, she still was a victim of the system. She claimed she was also physically abused by the house manager when she was still married to the Sheikh. When the case over the children's custody was taken to the Emirati court, the ruling obviously went in favor of him. After all, he is the nephew of the reigning monarch of Dubai. No sane court in the UAE would rule against him, and in favor of Zeynab. It doesn't really sound like a fair system, does it? The rulings argued that regarding the case of custody, Zeynab was a bad mother. It got so bad that even her own representative in court stopped showing up. When she contacted the Azerbaijani embassy in the UAE for assistance in moving her and her children from Dubai, she got no response. The case got international attention when in October 2022, she approached the United Nations Human Rights Council for help over her ordeal with Sheik Saeed Al Maktoum. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you do to never miss a video. After some time, Zeynab and her case seemed to disappear from the spotlight. She deleted her social media accounts, where she poured out her heart about her situation and left the limelight for some time. But soon she started posting again with her family, and although she wasn't in the royal palace of Dubai, her posts showed she was living quite comfortably and happily with her daughters. It seems as if the former spouses had finally put aside certain differences or had amicably and completely separated. It was quite clear that while Zeynab did not leave the UAE completely, she was finally appearing to be at peace again with her family, even though she was no longer in the palace. What did you think about Zeynab's story? Make sure to let us know down below. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.